My name is Palesa Mufukeng. I'm still comfortably under 30. This means today I have the opportunity and the privilege and perhaps a little bit of nervousness of moderating a panel of women featured in the third edition of the 2026 Forbes Africa Over 30 Under 50 list. Now, these are women in their 30s and 40s who are shaping industries and rewriting the rules across the continent. But make no mistake, today's conversation is not just about the achievements or the titles. It's about the journey behind them, the moments of doubts, the decisions that changed everything, and the personal stories of becoming the leaders that they are today. Because beyond and behind every headline or accolade is a human story. And today, we want to explore all those stories. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, I'm feeling very excited. But moreover than that, I'm very excited to listen and to learn. And also, we do have this year's edition on your tables for you to read and enjoy. Please, let's meet the panelists.
The third edition of Forbes Africa 2026 Over 30 Under 50 list makers. The panelists are Pelanomi Moyila, Chief Executive Officer, Lelapa AI. Vivian Anano, Founder Director, Leading Light Initiative. Durban Gogo Mandi Saratede, South African DJ, producer, and amapiano artist. And the moderator is CNBC Africa presenter, Palesa Mufukeng.
So I want to start at the beginning, before the recognition, before the global stages, before the businesses. Who were you, and what planted the seed of the path that you are on today? Pelanomi, I'm going to start with you.
Oh gosh. Hi, everybody, firstly. I guess I grew up as quite a curious person. Because I was so curious, I was good at maths and science. So at school, my parents were like, you should do music. And I was like, clearly, you guys don't take me seriously. I'm going to do engineering. And through that journey, just wanted to explore the curiosity that I had about the world and how things worked.
Yeah.
I then went to a research institute, CSIR, because I was like, that's the best way to learn how the world works, is to go into research. And I guess there I learned that, yes, it can be exciting to learn how the world works, but if I wasn't applying it into how I and systems interacted with the world, then I wasn't satisfied. So I learned there that I really wanted to create things that interacted with how we understood the world better to make it nicer for more people. I then went to study overseas, and I mean, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant of the language problems that we had at home. But going overseas to a place where I didn't speak the language, I was doing my master's in a language that I didn't know. My telephone bill was in a language I didn't know. My gas and electricity was in a language I didn't know. I went to the doctor because I thought I had a concussion, and they took an x-ray of my neck because they misunderstood me. And coming back to South Africa, it was the realization that that's not just a one-time touristic experience of studying overseas. It was the very real lived experience of people on our continent every day. And that's where the inspiration came to do something about that, to take that curiosity that I had developed over many, many years and understand how I could apply that curiosity into solving this very real problem for so many people.
Sure. I'm thinking Einstein. Hey? It's very smart. Vivian, let me come to you. Who lit that fire in you?
First again, I'm very, very honored to be here today because I was actually part of the first ever Leading Women Summit in a small room. I think it was at the Inanda Club, and to see how much it has grown today, it's very inspirational, but also it shows the international leadership of Forbes Africa. So I am your typical story of a village girl on the global stage. And I'm not saying that to romanticize it, but I'm sharing that to show you the power of investing in girls' education. It shows you the power of giving that girl from a rural area an opportunity. Talent is universal, opportunity is not. I was born and raised by a single mom in a very disadvantaged family. And I saw how women in my family languished in poverty as a result of not having education. And I didn't want to be that statistic. But I knew that was going to be my path, right? Because there were no resources, in as much as I've always believed that I'm very talented, I'm very smart, but there were no opportunities. And I spent a lot of time with my grandmother in the village growing up, and we'll be seated outside drying millet and maize after the harvesting season, and I would tell her that, Grandma, one day I'll be flying up there and I'll be waving at you. And she never believed it because it was such a far-fetched dream. And she was like, oh, Vivian, you like dreaming. But I told her, Grandma, one day I'll be waving at you. At that point, I didn't know even you can wave at somebody from the plane because I'd never been inside one. But I knew that if I was given an opportunity, I'll never take advantage of it.
Sure.
And I knew if I'm given an opportunity, it won't be just about me. But it will be about the women in my family, it will be about the women in my community, the women in my country, the women in my continent, because I wanted transformative change. I wanted just not for myself, but to see other people also succeed. I'm really a sister kind of a person. When I succeed, I want the girl next to me to succeed too. So I went through primary school. I was always the kid being sent home for school fees. Every time. When they named the kids who are supposed to pay, Vivian or Nano, I'll have to go home. But the teachers saw the potential in me. And at some point, they knew I would never pay. Because even after I'm chased, I'll still come back without the money. And at one point, they saw the potential. I was still one of the top performing students. I was a student leader. And they told me that when we send you home, just stand by the gate. And when everybody else is gone, just come back. Because they knew nothing is going to change about my situation. And that's how I went through primary education. And then that was going to be my end of education. Because even though I was a top student, my mom, I was raised by a single mom, my mom didn't have the resources to take me to high school. But it just so happened that the year I graduated from primary school, when I knew that that was going to be the end of my education, they started a girls' school in Nairobi, Kenya, for girls from very disadvantaged background who are academically talented. That is Starehe Girls Center. And I was one of the 72 girls who was admitted to this center. And going to Starehe, my life changed for the best. I had access to top education. I didn't have to worry about anything because everything was being provided there at the center. And they would even give us money to go home and come back to school. And for me, my journey has just not been about me. Going to school has been a privilege. And I want every other young girl from the village to have the same privilege. Because of the education, today I'm on this panel with all of you. Because of the education, today I sit in rooms with heads of states, ministers, policy changes, trying to transform change, trying to ensure that there's investments in women and girls' issues, trying to advocate for girls' education to ensure that every child has an opportunity. Because access to education is the basic foundation for every child. And had I not had that education, today I'll be one of the statistics you're seated here talking about: girls languishing in poverty, girls who are married off at an early age, girls who have no other opportunity, right? But then people of goodwill saw me as a person worthy of investing in. And today, I am here, not just for me, but to lead transformative change when it comes to investing in women and girls. And that is my story.
Indeed. In fact, that does deserve a round of applause. In fact, you even echo the words of renowned visionary Nelson Mandela when he said, education is the key to success. Devin Gogo, hello.
Hi.
The world knows Devin Gogo. The stages, we see the energy, we see the moments, the Instagram reels, but when the music stops and the crowd disappears, who is Mandisa?
Oh my God. Mandisa Khadebe is just a girl that has always loved music. I think I get my love for music from my parents, especially my mother. Obviously, because of their circumstances, they had to do the things that they did, and they afforded me the opportunity to do anything that I wanted to. There was nothing under the sun in music that I didn't try. I was playing the piano, I was in a hip-hop dance group, I was in choir in school, I did everything under the sun. I remember when I was little, there was a concert happening at Orlando Stadium in Soweto. And I was so excited to see Boom Shaka. Like, my uncles used to call me Boom Shaka because that was my favorite group ever. Lebo was the pinnacle for me. And then I fell asleep. So I was really upset when they woke me up and they're like, they performed and it's time to go. So they eventually got them to perform at my birthday party the year later, and I was really like super, super happy about that. And growing up with my mother, we used to spend a lot of time with Mamir and Makeba. So even just the type of music that I used to listen to shaped who I am today. And I think getting into the entertainment industry, I just realized that there was a big gap for women. I mean, we didn't have a lot of people to look up to, especially in South Africa. At the time, you know, there was your Sindo's, your Zinkle's, your Lady Leah's. But when you go out, it's always just men. So I was like, I really feel like this is something I can do and do it well. And that's really where the journey started.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on bridging that gap, because my next question then would become, how would you characterize being a female pioneer in the music industry living within the African context?
I think it's something that kind of just happened to me. You know, I started by obviously playing house, and when piano started to rise and develop, there was obviously that situation of, now I'm getting booked more, they want me to play later, but what is the popular music that's now on the come up? So I started to educate myself on piano and, you know, where it comes from, and, you know, obviously my influences of it, which was from Pretoria, you know, broken beats, from Mams at Ridgeville. And it kind of just happened. Like, I was at the right place at the right time, really immersed myself in the culture and really took it for what it was and took it in its pure raw form, and was not afraid to be the first person doing A, B, and C, going to certain places. I think my first outside gig was Tanzania, and they had never even heard piano ever. Ever. So, you know, it's become a norm for me to be that girl doing the thing for the first time, and
Amazing. But Leonomi, I want to come back to you. Your work sits at the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, and you've mentioned before, every founder's dream or journey starts with curiosity. And building an AI company on the African continent is ambitious. What was the defining moment for you? And I ask this because not so long ago, you were still in your 20s, and I think this is a time when most of us, it's a constant mind battle, right? Will I make it? Should I go back to school and change my career? Should I pivot? Is this the path for me? What was the defining moment for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I suppose there were a number of defining moments on the way. In 2017, I'd come back from studying overseas to meet this machine learning community that had developed in South Africa at the Deep Learning Indaba. And I would say that was clearly a defining moment for me and for us, because firstly, that's where all the founders met, who would then develop Lelapa 5 years later. But also going into that room, you have Africans from all over the continent who've acquired skills in this really advanced technology that is machine learning, that is otherwise built for a Western environment, Western audience. And for the first time, I went to a conference, and every single person presenting, every single poster that was being presented on that, at that conference was around solving an actual real-world problem. Like, people were coming from their community saying, my mom had breast cancer, I'm going to use machine learning to detect it. They said, my father needs a microloan for his business. I'm going to build a machine learning model that learns from his mobile data in order to get him a financial loan for his business. And it was really an incredible moment to understand that our constraints within the environments that we function and that we've grown up and the people that we've interacted with are an incredible canvas for cutting-edge innovation. And I think we often think that things that built outside of the continent are more advanced, and that the way to do it is to copy-paste whatever they have in our context. And I think, firstly, it's tragic because actually our own innovation, our own creativity, our own curiosity about our own lived experience and how we want to move forward into the future, especially based off of where we come from, is so much more valuable than what has been imported. And then at the second time, when you do import those things, they just don't work the same. And then you spend lots of capital, lots of time and energy trying to retrofit a solution that was never built for you for a problem that you're trying to solve. And when we're solving problems on the African continent, we're not solving small, trivial problems. Like, we wouldn't have built ChatGPT so that we could just have conversations with AI. We would be building it in order to solve a real problem that the continent is facing. So, yeah, I think that conference was an incredible pivotal moment because we realized that constraint is the canvas where we're building on from the African context. It's a blessing and a curse, but Africa is abundant in problems that we can use this advanced technology to leapfrog over certain development challenges because it's able to solve things faster with less capital in some cases.
Sure, insightful. That's really insightful. Vivian, you shared a really personal story with us. If you had a chance to go back in time and meet your younger self, what would be the first thing you say to her?
To meet my young self? Oh, wow. I'll tell her that I'm proud of her. It's been a journey from the young Vivian to the Vivian who is sitting here today, right? And I haven't walked that journey alone. Even though I told you that I came from a very disadvantaged background, I was raised with a lot of love. I was raised to believe that I can, and that confidence has always stayed with me. But also along the journey, I've been fortunate to have incredible women mentors, be it in public service, be it private sector. I have women from all walk of life who've been journeying with me, and that has been my support system. I am also part of the African Women Leaders Network, and one of our African women leaders and elders, Her Excellency Madam Saleh Work, was here this morning and shared a very powerful keynote. So I have this system that continue to support me, and I draw from their strengths, from their experiences, their successes and their failures. And I think that has shaped the woman that I'm becoming, but also that has helped me to be a better person, right? I always say that it's not just enough to be the first woman, to be the only woman. It's not enough. We need a critical mass because it's very lonely at the top. And if you're only the one, you are the first woman or the only woman, it's so easy for you to slip. But if you have sisters who are buoying you, you know, they will always keep you up there. So for me, that has been part and parcel of my life and how I live my life. Holding one sister's hand, but also knowing that in this journey, I can't do it alone. But if I hold her hand, I hold her hand, and I hold your hand, then we can be able to create the change that we want, and also lasting change. It's not just about creating change, but it's also about creating lasting change. So the Vivian that I was as a baby and the Vivian that I am today, I'm very proud of her. I'm very grateful for her. And I'll never change my journey in any way. Yeah. It's through the journey that has strengthened me, built my resilience, but also shaped me to be the leader that I am today, leading with heart and empathy, and always caring about the other people first.
Yeah, and just to wrap up our conversation, I want us to reflect a little bit on your journeys, ladies, and talk about what your own personal experiences and the work that you do has taught you about purpose and persistence. I'll start with you, Vivian. I'll come back to you, Deb and Gaga, and Pelonomi. Vivian, it's your turn.
Wait, what's the question again?
What has your own journey taught you about purpose and persistence?
Wow, that's a very broad question when it comes. So you know what's so funny? So many, the few people who've been able to read my feature on the Forbes article, they came to me and they're like, "Oh, Vivian, it looks like you don't like money." I was like, "It's not like I don't like money. Money is a means, right?"
Yeah.
And also, just to be honest, there are those who want to be Her Excellency Madam Saleh Work, right? And there are those of us here in the room who want to be like Miss Connie Mashaba. And we all coexist together. We need one another.
Yeah.
As I say, profitability to me, I see it not just in terms of money, right? But I also see it in terms of goodwill. Because the rooms that I'm in today, the policies that I'm able to shape today, can never be equated to money, but can only be equated to the number of lives that are transformed. And for me, to be able to get myself there it's been a journey of persistence, but it's also been a journey of being authentic to who I am, knowing my story, appreciating my story, owning my story. That has been my power. And then walking into those rooms and knowing that this is what I bring to the table, and I deserve a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Not by being arrogant, right? But by appreciating yourself and the values that you bring to the table. And I think most of the time you're like, oh, you know, they just invited me. No, they didn't just invite you, you know? You deserve to be there.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a reason why they invite you, and you have to own that. So for me, being authentic has been part of my persistence and the resilience journey. Appreciating where I come from, drawing my strengths from my journey and from my family, and for women and girls that I've been fortunate to meet across the continent. As a young girl, I told my grandmother that one day I'll be flying and wave at her, right? And now I've been fortunate to travel to almost 46 out of the 55 countries on the continent, and globally up to almost 100 countries, you know? And that is the power of education. That is the power of investing in the education of a girl child. The transformation is not just for her, but it's for the community. It's for the continent.
Yeah.
And it's for the world. And today, more than ever before, we need the female leadership at all tables.
Indeed, indeed. Mandisa?
Purpose and persistent, no matter what, obviously, career that you're in, is really important, especially for us as women, because we are always told that we must do a certain thing, be a certain way, dress a certain way, not speak, not do that. But when you are literally stepping into your light and the thing that you are meant to do and the God-given thing that has chosen you, nothing can sway that. And I know that from aspect of how quickly society moves, and obviously I'm in the industry where social media is a very big part of what we do and how patterns change and, you know, how people access music as well. You're meant to do a certain thing to get a certain type of reaction, but I have always been grounded in the fact that I do this because it's something that I love, and I think that when I'm playing my music, I'm exchanging energy with you, and you are taking that energy and you're using it for yourself and you're giving it back to me. And that's something that can't be broken by trends or anything else. And if you continue doing something consistently, the results are always going to come out at the end.
Yeah, of course. Listen, by the way, we look forward to that set this evening. Please, we will be there. After party, we're all going, right? All right. Philonomy, how would you define purpose and persistence as it pertains to your journey, of course?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned in my journey, I mean, of course, authenticity, practice, absolutely essential. As things get more difficult, and as I am faced with bigger and bigger challenges, I know that I need to know myself more. So what I would say is know your demons and make friends with them so you can hear what they're trying to tell you. I'm constantly, every single day of my life, facing the most difficult challenges that I've faced. And in order to persist and to move forward with the fear, with the doubt, with the ambition, with the vision, with the mission, I constantly have to listen to the pieces of myself that are signaling to me how to navigate through these things. And they're not always nice. They're not always great, but they do need to be given attention so that I have the strength to push through. And if you don't know those parts of yourself, then you can sabotage and they keep you back. They stop you from pursuing scary things. So yeah. Knowing your demons, making friends with them, and letting them guide you through is so important.
Sure. Yes, Vivian.
Oh, sorry again. I know we're about to wrap up. So, but I had my last parting shot that I just wanted to share. The work that we're doing as women leaders, both young and senior generation, it's meaningful work. It's hard work. And this work, we can't do it alone. So I urge those of us in the room today, we are very privileged to be here. Let's hold each other's hands. Let's work together. Let's open our spaces for other women. Inclusion is not just having one woman at the table. Inclusion is not just having one female president or prime minister. Inclusion is not just educating one girl, but it's building a critical mass. And in this room, we are very, very powerful. And let's use our power to drive force and lasting change in our communities. Viva African women, viva!
Viva!
Viva African women, viva!
Viva!
We are the change.
Of course, of course. For the younger women who are in this room and are still in the early chapters of their careers and their journeys, I do hope that this conversation reminded all of us that success is not just about the titles, it's not just about the achievements, but it is about the journey of becoming. I mean, look at these women. They sit across different industries, yet there is one thing that unites them. It's the courage to start, it's the courage to persist, and the courage to keep evolving. Thank you to all my panelists.